based on the title and research notes in your uploaded prompt. Here's the beginning of a script draft in the style your template calls for. Have you ever looked at your cucumber plants and wondered why they seem healthy, yet the harvest never matches your expectations? You water them regularly. You feed them when you can. The vines grow, the leaves look green, and everything appears to be going well. But when harvest season arrives, the cucumbers are fewer than you hoped for, smaller than expected, or simply not as abundant as the pictures you see from experienced gardeners. What if the difference between an average cucumber harvest and an overflowing one wasn't an expensive fertilizer, a complicated gardening technique, or some new product from the garden center? What if it was something that many old gardeners already knew decades ago? For generations, experienced growers passed down a simple yeast mixture that they believed helped cucumber plants grow stronger, flower more heavily, and produce harvests that seemed almost impossible for such an inexpensive homemade solution. And here's where things get interesting. Many modern gardeners have never heard of this method, even though the ingredients are probably sitting in their kitchen right now. By the end of this video, you'll discover what this traditional yeast mixture is, why old gardeners trusted it, how it may help support healthy cucumber growth, the biggest mistakes people make when using it, and a little-known tip that can make an even bigger difference in your harvest than the yeast itself. So make sure you stay until the end, because the final lesson isn't about the mixture at all. It's about the gardening mindset that helped old gardeners consistently grow incredible crops year after year. Before we continue, if you enjoy practical gardening tips and want to learn more simple methods that can help you grow healthier plants naturally, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Every like helps this channel reach more gardeners who are trying to grow better harvests without spending a fortune on products they may not need. Your support truly helps keep these gardening lessons alive. If you've been growing cucumbers for any length of time, you've probably experienced the frustration that almost every gardener faces. The season starts with excitement. You carefully prepare your soil. You plant your seeds or seedlings. You imagine baskets filled with crisp, fresh cucumbers. But then reality sets in. Growth slows down. Flowers appear, but don't always become fruit. Some cucumbers develop poorly. Others stop growing unexpectedly. And sometimes the harvest simply doesn't live up to the effort you've invested. The frustrating part is that many gardeners assume they need more fertilizer. So they add more, then more. Yet the results often remain disappointing. The strange part is that the problem isn't always a lack of nutrients. In many cases, the issue begins underground where you can't easily see it. Old gardeners understood something that many people overlook today. Healthy plants depend on healthy soil life. The soil beneath your cucumber plants is not just dirt. It's a living ecosystem filled with billions of microorganisms working around the clock. These microscopic organisms help break down organic matter, release nutrients, improve soil structure, and support healthy root development. When this underground community thrives, plants often thrive too. And that's where yeast enters the story. Most people think of yeast as something used for baking bread. But yeast is actually a living organism. When activated in water and combined with a small amount of sugar, yeast begins feeding and multiplying. Old gardeners noticed that applying a properly prepared yeast mixture seemed to stimulate biological activity in the soil. Now, it's important to understand something. The yeast itself is not a complete fertilizer. It doesn't magically provide every nutrient your cucumbers need. But that's not the biggest lesson. The real value may come from how yeast supports beneficial activity around the root zone. Think of it like this. Imagine your garden soil as a busy city. The microorganisms are the workers. Their job is to process materials and make nutrients available to your plants. The yeast mixture may help encourage activity within that system, creating conditions that support healthier plant growth. What surprised many gardeners was the visible difference they often reported after consistent use. Stronger vines, greener leaves, more vigorous growth, increased flowering, and in some cases, significantly larger harvests. But before you rush outside and start mixing yeast into a watering can, there's something important you need to know. Many gardeners misunderstand how this method works. And that's where mistakes begin. One of the biggest mistakes is treating the yeast mixture as a replacement for proper nutrition. Old gardeners never viewed it that way. They still relied on compost. They still improved their soil. They still watered properly. They still provided adequate sunlight. The yeast mixture was a supplement, not a miracle cure. Another common mistake is applying it at the wrong time. Experienced gardeners often use the mixture during periods of active growth. When cucumber plants are producing vigorous vines, developing flowers, and setting fruit, they require tremendous energy. Supporting soil activity during these periods may help plants make better use of available nutrients. But here's where things get even more interesting. Some gardeners noticed that two people could use the exact same yeast mixture and get very different results. Why? Because the mixture wasn't the entire secret. The condition of the soil determined much of the outcome. Rich soil filled with organic matter often responded much better than depleted soil lacking biological activity. This teaches an important lesson that extends far beyond cucumbers. Successful gardening is rarely about finding one magic ingredient. Instead, it's about creating conditions where plants can thrive naturally. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever tried a homemade garden fertilizer or a traditional gardening remedy that actually worked better than you expected? Or have you experimented with yeast in the garden before? Share your experience in the comments below because gardeners often learn some of the best lessons from one another. So what exactly is the traditional yeast mixture old gardeners used? A common version involved mixing active dry yeast, a small amount of sugar, and warm water. The mixture would be allowed to activate before being diluted and applied around the base of cucumber plants. The sugar provided an initial food source for the yeast. The warm water helped activate the microorganisms. Once prepared, the solution was typically applied to moist soil rather than dry ground. But before applying any homemade mixture, there's another important detail many people overlook. Always focus on the basics first. Healthy cucumber plants require rich soil, consistent moisture, adequate sunlight, good airflow, regular observation. Without these fundamentals, even the best homemade supplement will struggle to produce noticeable results. The real transformation begins when traditional methods are combined with strong gardening habits. That's exactly what old gardeners did. They weren't searching for shortcuts. They were building systems. And within those systems, the yeast mixture served as one useful tool among many. There's also a lesser-known secret that experienced gardeners often practiced alongside yeast applications. They paid extraordinary attention to observation. Every day, they checked leaves. They monitored growth. They watched for signs of stress. They adjusted watering based on weather conditions. This simple habit allowed them to catch problems before those problems became serious. In many ways, observation was their true superpower. The yeast mixture may have helped support healthy growth, but careful observation helped them maximize every opportunity their plants had to succeed. Imagine walking into your garden a few weeks from now and seeing vigorous cucumber vines stretching confidently across their supports. Imagine healthy leaves capturing sunlight efficiently. Imagine flowers appearing in abundance. Imagine harvesting basket after basket of fresh cucumbers throughout the season. That's the outcome old gardeners were working toward. Not through shortcuts, not through expensive products, but through consistent care, healthy soil, and practical wisdom accumulated over years of experience. The biggest lesson from this traditional yeast mixture isn't that yeast is magical. It's that thriving gardens are built on understanding how nature works. Support the soil. Support the roots. Support the biology beneath the surface. And your plants often reward you for it. Thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with another gardener who loves growing cucumbers. And before you leave, watch the next video on your screen where we'll reveal another old gardener's trick that many people overlook. One that could help transform not only your cucumbers, but your entire vegetable garden.